Relationship advice. My 29 male, girlfriend 26 female, cheated and the kid, 2 male, I thought was mine is not. People keep telling me I have to stay in the kid's life and be his dad, but I can't even stand to look at him now. Long story short, my now ex-girlfriend was passing off another man's kid as mine. I believed it for nearly 2 years until certain details came out from people in our social circle that led me to suspect that she had been unfaithful around the time the kid would have been conceived. I confronted her, and after initially denying it, she eventually broke down and admitted that the kid wasn't mine. I want to put this all behind me to whatever extent possible. I've moved out of our apartment already. Lease expires in 4 months, and I'll pay my share till then, but that's it. I've mostly cut off contact with my ex and her friends and family. But I also adamantly do not want to be involved in the kid's life anymore, and even some of my friends/family who consoled me when I found out think I have a responsibility to go on being his father. It's not like I blame the kid for how he was conceived, but ever since I found out the truth, it feels like every happy memory I've had from the last 2 years is poisoned. I can't look at him without feeling like a stupid, gullible schmuck, and I feel sick and angry when I think of the thousands of dollars I've spent on him so far. Money I could have saved for a car and a mortgage, which I gladly spent on what I thought was going to be my wife and our child. I'm willing to spend every last penny I have in attorney's fees to see what my options are, to disentangle myself from this relationship, or at least to limit the bleeding. When I told my ex about this, she begged not to go through with it. But as awful as it sounds, I just don't feel any love for this kid anymore, like a light clicked off in my head. I told her to get the biological father to be his dad, but she says that guy is unreliable and not capable of emotionally or financially supporting a child. Which made me question why that's my problem. She chose to bear this guy's kid. Nobody supports me in this, not even my parents, which I understand. They're distraught because the kid they thought was their first grandchild is in fact not. But they're not the ones who are going to be paying for him. What happens when I meet a decent woman and want to start a real family of my own with her? Am I going to have to keep supporting another man's kid at the same time, give him the money and care that I should be spending on my real children? I don't yet know if it's legally feasible for me to disentangle myself completely from this kid and his mother. But am I really so crazy for wanting to do so? Now for the top advice of this post. Everyone who is telling you to care for the kid and not abandon him, tell them that they can support the kid instead of you, if they feel so freaking bad. They are just as related to the kid as you are. This. Also, if OP stays in the kid's life, what happens when the mother meets a new guy? Things get weird because OP, who is not the father, is still in the picture. Does he then get cut out anyway? Better to cut ties while the kid is too young to remember you, OP. It's harsh, but true. You aren't his dad. You aren't in the obligation to be in his life. This might be an r/legal advice post. If OP signed a birth certificate, he may need a lawyer to correct that. Some places make someone pay child support if they don't contest paternity within X amount of time. Let's hope he didn't sign it, and if he did, he falls within the time to contest. Edit. After looking, skip legal advice son and go straight to an attorney. This situation on the surface seems cut and dry, but OP will want to get ahead of it. If he leaves her, she can sue for back child support payments, and he gives up his rights under the potential "I'm not the real father" area. You are not crazy at all. He's still young, and while toddlers have some personality, he hasn't really come into the age where he has his own thoughts, feelings, beliefs, etc. So it makes sense that you really don't love him anymore. I raised a kid for about a year. No chance was mine. He was about 4 months old when I met his mom. After we broke up, some friends encouraged me to stay in his life. But why? Eventually, his mom was going to move on. Why should I be playing pretend dad? You're in the same situation. Getting out of paying child support is going to be a battle. I'm not sure how hard. I think that's going to depend on a lot. Absolutely find a lawyer for a consultation at the least. He's almost certainly on the hook for child support, unless the bio father is willing to take over paying. Now for the next story. Update. My 24 female, boyfriend 28 male, told me to get a paternity test when I told him I was pregnant. Original story. I've been in a relationship with Nico for 3 years now, and we were discussing plans to move in together later this year and becoming engaged by next year. We were always very open and communicative when it came to our relationship and never had any big problems, besides the petty argument here and there. I found out I was pregnant about a week ago and was super scared because my career is just taking off now and I'm not emotionally or financially ready to have a baby. I told Nico the day after I found out since I was meeting him in person. I never thought he would be ecstatic or anything about the pregnancy. However, he just looked at me and asked me to get a paternity test. I was shocked and hurt that he would suggest I was sleeping with anyone else. It grew into a huge fight where I asked him why he didn't trust me to even ask me that. He said he did trust me and didn't think I was a cheater, but he was not ready for a kid, and if there's a chance that it's not his kid, he wanted to be sure because he was not taking care of it if it's not his. This logic doesn't make any sense to me though, because if he trusted me, then why is there any doubt that the kid isn't his? I went to him to see what we can do together and get over it together, but instead, I feel like I was just slapped. I'm not even sure if I want to be with him anymore due to this. 3 years together and this is what he thinks of me? Also, throughout the week, I've been having second thoughts on terminating the baby as well. I'm so scared I'll regret it later and miss my baby. But Nico keeps insisting on a test first before conversations about it since he's not sure if it's his yet. Now let's read the top advice before the update. These are 2 different topics. 1. Do you want to keep the baby? That's your decision. 2. Do you want Nico to be part of your life? The fact he would immediately question paternity makes me think he's looking to bolt. Do you want that uncertainty and unreliability in your life? He may be looking for a way out. Or he may have read too many "I just found out that I've been raising some other man's child for the last 15 years" stories on this forum, or one like it. But it's probably the first case, I think. One thing you should consider is if waiting for the paternity test will make it too late to get a termination. You're only 24, you don't feel ready for a kid. The father is being aggressively awful about not wanting the kid. It seems like keeping the baby would give a lot more cause for regret than waiting for a better situation to have a wanted baby. Yes, I can't believe I didn't see this earlier. Procedures are easier the earlier they occur, and paternity tests are expensive. It may put OP in a precarious situation time-wise. Hi, I'm just here to say that when I got a procedure, I knew immediately that I didn't want to carry the pregnancy to term and had absolutely no regrets with getting rid of it. When you don't want to be pregnant, you won't suddenly regret it when you get a termination. That's just what pro-birthers want you to think, so you doubt yourself. If that's what you want, you'll only feel immense relief. I just want to add, it may not be so straightforward for you either. I am vehemently pro-choice, but my own procedure was not easy on me, despite my having no doubt whatsoever what I wanted to do. I felt both relief and guilt. If you also find that your feelings are far more complex than you thought they would be, know that you aren't alone, and also know that doesn't mean that you made a wrong decision. Sometimes, the best choice is a painful one. Now for the update. Just wanted to give an update and clear some things up from my original post. I read every comment on my previous post and thank everyone for giving their insights. Some things that people misunderstood were that 1. I refused to get a paternity test ever, and 2. I was going to get rid of the baby because of my boyfriend. Sorry I didn't make it clearer before, since I was in a bad headspace. I'll try my best now. To clear things up, I was never against a paternity test since I knew the baby was definitely his. And if it told me he was just insecure about it, I would have taken it. The problem I had was his lack of communication and support of me. When I told him I was pregnant, I wanted him to be there for me and help me work through it together because it was our child together. I was scared and anxious and nervous and didn't know what to do, and I needed him. When he bluntly just told me to get a paternity test first, I was hurt. Plus, I didn't even know until I read the comments in my original post that you could get a paternity test while pregnant, but it seemed to me that it would have been dangerous anyways. I thought I needed to birth the baby to get the test, and that defeated the point in discussing what to do in the first place. Secondly, when I said that Nico insisted on getting the test first before communicating, I meant he stopped all communication with me. He wouldn't say good morning to me, good night, how was my day, how I was feeling, tell me about his day. Nothing. It wasn't just he didn't want to talk about the potential baby, it was that he didn't want to talk to me at all because I could potentially be carrying someone else's baby even though he said he trusted me. When I said I wasn't sure if I wanted to keep the baby, I didn't mean it was because of Nico. I meant just in general. I didn't think I could handle a baby and wanted to develop my career more. I wouldn't terminate a baby just because of a guy. So in the end, after him not talking to me for about 2 weeks, he texted me and said, "I realized that I didn't miss you at all during this time we didn't talk. It's not that I thought you cheated on me, because I don't think that. I'm just not in love with you anymore, and I don't want to raise a baby with you. I've been talking to other girls during this time, and I missed that over staying with you. Keep the baby or not, I don't care." I honestly thought our relationship was so solid and stable before this. We always laughed together, made plans for the future, talked about getting engaged and living together later this year, and now this. To say that I fell apart is an understatement. As for the baby, well, I thought about it, and I decided to keep it. I saw a lot of comments about pro-life and pro-choice, and I definitely think it is everyone's choice to choose what to do. But I've always wanted kids one day, and I feel like if I looked back to this time in the future, I would always wonder what if I kept the baby. What kind of a person would they be? I imagined a life with my baby, and after I did that, I honestly couldn't see a life without them in it anymore. This is not a pro-life PSA though, and I don't want anyone to take this and use it as an argument against women who choose a procedure. I did the calculations and spoke to my financial advisor, and contrary to what I thought, I am well within the means to afford a baby. I don't know why I thought I wasn't before, to be honest. Maybe I was just scared. My career will drop since I am a corporate lawyer, and in my field, if you're not working all the time and giving it 200%, you won't climb the ladder and make that 7-figure income. That was my goal before, but honestly, I think this baby is worth letting that go. Now for some comments. Get that child support too. That will likely require a paternity test, and then he can get what he wanted. This response is amazing, and I appreciate the irony of this situation. Lol. Child support. Enjoy that, baby mama. The newborn stage is the easiest, and what follows is so sweet because their little personality starts shining through. It makes it all worth it. I believe in you. You got this. I'm sorry, OP. Please do not let child support go because you can afford it. It's for your child. Get a lawyer, pursue paternity test, and put him on child support. Save it for college or a down payment on a house for your child. Best of luck. This is a lot to take in. Please, either pursue child support or ask him to sign over his paternal rights. Either or, if you genuinely do not want/need the money and you do not want to deal with him, you need to have him sign over his paternal rights. That way, he has no legal claim to the baby. Please do this for your sanity and the child's well-being. If in the future he wishes to meet the child, then it will be 100% up to you on how to facilitate that. That way, none of his family has a claim to the child either. Honestly, getting him to sign over his rights just prevents a lot of nasty future drama that we have seen on this sub before. Now, for the last story. I, 20s female, am pregnant. The father, older male, wants to pay me hush money to not disclose his identity. I can't give many details because I can't have this traced back to me. I am also aware that this is more than likely not the best place to ask this, but I have no one to ask in real life, and I've spent the last month debating the pros and cons of this, so I'm turning to the internet in the hopes that I can use any advice given to get my thoughts straight. I've spent a while in a relationship with someone I should never have been in a relationship with. He's not a celebrity, but he has a reputation that is important to protect, and is making a very cushy living based on his reputation. I know it was a bad idea to get involved with him, but it's happened now, and the end result is that I'm pregnant. My first option was to terminate, but he convinced me not to, saying he would look after me and the baby and he loved us both. Then, once I was past the deadline for the procedure, he said that was all BS and he never had any intention of looking after us, but he couldn't allow a termination due to his reputation. Because people know that we know each other, and just the news that I had a procedure would cause issues for him, and that's without the additional detail that it was his child. He's now offered me money, and it's a lot. Several years of salary for me, all paid in one lump sum. It's not early retirement money, but it could buy me a house outright, no mortgage, and still have money to make a sizable trust fund for my child and a comfortable emergency fund for me. The money is mine on the condition that I don't make him do anything. That means no signing the birth certificate, no custody, and no child support. I take the cash and leave him alone for the next 18 years. He says when the child is an adult, I can give them his name, but he can't make any promises. He'd also prefer I moved away from here with his money. He said something about legalities, but I am not sure if this is a legally enforceable situation. If a contract could be created that would be enforceable in a court law, any other legal elements that could factor in here, or if the talk of legalities was all BS meant to sway me one way or another. Emotionally, I'm a wreck. I've started therapy, and that is helping a lot. But I can't even talk to my therapist about the situation because I'm worried about the potential legalities of it. I only have one sibling I'm still in contact with, don't speak to my parents, and don't have a lot of friends. So there's not much holding me here. I can afford this baby without the money, or with court-ordered child support, but this is still a lot of money, probably more than I'll make this whole decade combined. However, I feel like I'm being bought, and I hate this feeling. And I don't want my child to resent me when they turn 18 for hiding who their father is, or even how I'd approach dealing with questions about their father for 18 years. But I also don't want to let my pride get in the way of giving my child the stability I never had as a kid. I could always go the legal route, have the baby, and get him on a birth certificate and paying child support, but that would become public record and would ruin my ex's life. And he's the type to try and get full custody out of self-preservation or spite, and with the legal representation he can afford, he would win. I can't adopt out the baby before anyone suggests it, because I've spent months bonding with my child and can't imagine giving them up at this stage. What do? Do I take the money and leave my ex out of this? Should I stick with the legal route and let the courts decide? If I did take this money, what do I tell my child when they ask about their father? I tell him to double the offer, but I'm a duck and I don't appreciate being screwed around. Absolutely this, and after you get your money, make sure you have someone help you manage it all. Talk to an attorney. Get child support set up once the baby's here. He's already lied to you once. Why would this promise of money be any different? Whether or not you take the money, it sounds like you will both be better off without this scumbag in either of your lives. I think so too. I think making a clean break will be the best idea, but the easiest way to do that would be taking the money and moving. And I don't know if taking the money is the best idea. And that's the end of this video, folks. As always, leave a comment and hit like and subscribe. And if you want more of this content, turn your notification on to get updated on the latest videos. And I'll catch you in the next one. Stay safe. My 28 female, husband 29 male, has a pregnant affair partner and my in-laws and parents are encouraging it. Okay, so me and my husband have been married for a little over 5 years now. We've always wanted to have a big family with lots of kids. The problem was that I just could not get pregnant no matter how many positions or times we've tried. When I went to the doctor last year, I was told that I'm infertile and will not have children naturally, and we should best try for an IVF. Since then, I have been cutting corners and scarping every last dollar I have for an IVF. My husband was initially on board, but early this year he started to get iffy on the IVF. Kept emphasizing adoption and discouraging the IVF, and I definitely considered it, but I want to have a kid of my own blood first before I adopt another child. Well, me, my mother-in-law, and my sister-in-law, Jane, were chatting on WhatsApp. And I told my sister-in-law the amount of money that I still need to save for multiple rounds of IVF, just in case the first one doesn't work. And if the IVF doesn't work, then I will adopt a child. Jean asked if I was really on board with adopting my husband's illegitimate child. My heart started beating really fast, and I was so confused when my mother-in-law chimed in that I was truly a kind child for forgiving my husband's affair, and even taking in their kid. I made an excuse and hung up the phone when my mind was racing. I tried to convince myself that Jane and mother were playing jokes on me, so I went upstairs to ask my husband for his side of things. He paled rather fast and asked me where I heard it from. I told him Jane and mother told me, and that's when he decided it would be good to tell me what he was thinking. He's been hooking up with one of his old flames, and she got pregnant. He told me that he loved me, but he didn't want to go through extra stress to have a child, so maybe I could forgive them and adopt their kid. Maybe even create a bond with it. I was completely heartbroken by his audacity. He dropped 2 bombs on me that day and expected me to just take it like that? I more or less ran out of the house to my parents' house because I really needed some comfort. I told my parents the whole thing, and they just told me that while the cheating was wrong, I should step up and become a mother to this kid, because they know how much I wanted a kid and how great of a mother I'll be. I can't stop crying because it seems that no one is on my side. I know I should probably try to get a divorce, but my mind is all over the place. My heart hurts so bad that I can't even get out of bed. Can anyone help me? Is there any advice I could get in this? Now for the top advice. The mother of the child is planning on giving up her parental rights? Leave him. He has betrayed your trust. At what point was he planning on telling you? Seriously, I don't believe there would be a right time to bring up his affair child ever. It will hurt no matter when he's gonna bring it up. After the child is born? Still too soon to forgive him while she's still dealing with infertility. After X many years. He kept this a secret while Opie thought they always had a loving and honest relationship. And her whole world is turned upside down, which it already is anyway. The only time someone could bring it up without throwing away the whole relationship would have been way before that. But then again, they could have just asked someone to be a surrogate. But nope, he actually wanted to bang someone else for that. It wasn't about finding an easier alternative. Don't know if surrogacy is actually cheaper than IVF. It was about having intimacy and impregnating another woman for him. That's the thing. He was never going to bring up his affair child. He was going to act as if they were just adopting a child from this woman. Be thankful you didn't already have a child with him before he did this. The audacity to hope the OP will become the mother of his illegitimate affair child. Why will your husband's affair partner give up her parental rights? Instead, she'll try to form a happy family with your husband, who will of course divorce you. If you stay, your future is 1. To be tarred as the evil stepmother in the future when kiddo asks why his actual mom isn't in the picture. Or 2. To accept an open marriage where your husband will impregnate various old flames and leave you to raise their children. Leave ASAP. Run for the hills. Seriously, Opie's not a concubine. My jaw is on the freaking floor right now. OMG. Girl, I'm so sorry this is happening to you right now. It's like some bad movie plot. Your family and his are out of their minds for even considering that. What in the actual hell? That is so beyond warped, man. Oh yeah, let me just raise this kid that my husband humped in some other woman behind my back. I want a baby so bad I'll just take anyone's. That's crazy. Divorce him. Like yesterday. And get yourself into some therapy ASAP so you can talk to someone and get some goddamn support from a non-lunatic. I hope so much things work out for you. Hang in there, sis. Next story is titled, Lost my girlfriend and unborn baby in a car accident over a year ago. My parents keep acting like it was a good thing. I, 24 male, miss her and our baby every day. They're always on my mind. I was with her since we were 16 and wanted to marry her after we had our son. She was over 7 months pregnant when she got into an accident coming back from visiting her family with her brother. My world had never been the same since. I was isolated from everyone after it happened. Didn't want to be part of the rest of the world no more, even more with COVID. Once when I was drinking, I was thinking about joining them, my girl and son, then called my brother and he stayed with me. Finally started therapy but had to stop because of work, and then school was kicking my behind. For the past months, I'm trying to get back into seeing my family more and make myself leave my apartment. My parents keep talking about me starting to go out with other people. They literally tried to set me up with some girl once, and I blew up on them. They keep acting like losing my girlfriend was something good because now I don't have to worry about raising a baby, my son that I wanted and loved more than anything, and can focus on my life as a single man. Every time they bring it up, they talk about how I wouldn't have been able to do anything with a baby, and I should appreciate that now I don't have that burden anymore. I try so hard to ignore them and change the subject, because then it turns into an argument and I'm the one who ends up dealing with negative feelings. Many times, I tell them not to talk about my girlfriend or my son like that because they meant everything to me. I tell them how it hurts. They don't mention it all the time, just when my dating life comes up. It's hurting me more now and I don't know how to get them to just stop. Or what better way can I express how much it hurts me when they talk like that? Since what I'm saying now don't seem to be working, what's a better way to get through to them how messed up their words are? Your parents are incredibly cold-hearted. Maybe seek comfort elsewhere. Friends? I love my friends, but they're not people I can talk to about this. None of them lost someone or are parents. That's why I wanted to have more support from my parents since they actually are parents. I get that, but they have demonstrated to you that they aren't capable of giving you the support you need. You may really benefit from a grief support group, perhaps one geared toward grieving parents, pregnancy loss, loss of a significant other, or complicated grief. Ask your therapist if he or she knows of any. Support groups are wonderful intentional communities if you can find one. I'm so sorry you're suffering through this alone. I'm so sorry that you have that from your family, and sorry for your loss. If I were you, I would not want to see them at all. It really comes down to whether you want a relationship with them still, and whether they want a relationship with you. My way of dealing with it would be just to leave every time they bring it up and tell them why I'm leaving. If you cannot respect the people I love, I do not want to hear another word from you, even if I love you as family, which I would start doubting if I still do. I'm very sorry for your loss. I suspect your parents are attempting to get you to look forward instead of back, but what they're doing isn't working and only making things worse. My guess is that this isn't malicious, or maybe I just like to believe it isn't. If you haven't talked to a therapist about it, maybe you should consider it. It might be helpful both in dealing with your loss and your parents. My parents weren't happy when I told them we were having a baby. They wanted me to be married and all that, so unfortunately I think they do feel it's really a good thing. I don't know about therapy right now. Next story. Found out that my 18 sister stole my boyfriend's keys, phone, $200, and medication, but my parents sided with her when I confronted her and threatened to cut me off if I tell my boyfriend. I don't know what to do. I, female 25, have a boyfriend, male 26, who suffers from a medical condition and pays for medication. He works hard despite his illness to help with rent and to afford medication and car repair. We visit my parents' house regularly. My boyfriend loves my parents and my 18 sister and loves being around them. His parents are both deceased, and he calls my family warm and loving. And they love him too, so there have been no issues, except for a few days ago when we were at my parents' house for dinner. My sister stayed in her room the whole time except for when dinner was ready. Usually she'd sit with us to chatter. I thought it was strange of her, but didn't overthink it. My boyfriend came back from the bathroom to find that his phone, and medication, and $200 in cash were gone, even his car keys. We were so confused, but kept looking all over the house. My sister came downstairs asking what we were looking for. We told her and she didn't say anything, just went upstairs. We couldn't find them. My boyfriend was so confused, we ended up taking an Uber home and left a car at my parents' house. My boyfriend kept worrying about going to the doctor to get his medication, and it was difficult. We also struggled with a car key. I visited my parents' house the next day to conduct extensive search. My sister was at school at the time. I entered her room and surprisingly found all of my boyfriend's missing things. I was in complete shock. I showed my mom and she began rationalizing and making excuses for my sister. I was so mad I ended up confronting my sister after she got home from school, and mom begged me to lie to my boyfriend and tell him I found his stuff in the bathroom cabinet after I mentioned that my boyfriend has the right to press charges. But I refused to lie to him. I told her she shouldn't encourage stealing, especially since my sister gave zero reasons for why she stole from my boyfriend. Mom got upset and involved my dad, who agreed and said that if I shouldn't agree on and encourage my boyfriend to press charges, and said I should stick to the bathroom cabinet lie. But I insisted in letting my boyfriend know so he could realize that the house he enters isn't safe for him anymore. Mom lost it on me when my sister started crying, saying I'll ruin her relationship with my boyfriend. Mom said she couldn't believe I chose to side with a guy I've known for only a year over my sister, and started bad-mouthing him. But he doesn't even know what's going on around him. He cares so much about my family and always wants a good relationship with them, but I'm not sure if I should tell him. My parents said they'll cut me out and no longer welcome us in the house if I tell my boyfriend, and he ends up getting police involved. They said my sister doesn't deserve to be rejected by universities over a stupid mistake that she already apologized for. Edit. I don't think it's the first time she's told based on my mom's reaction. She should be mad at her, not me. She should be talking about consequences to her, not me. Mom actually thinks it's my sister versus my boyfriend in the conflict, and keeps shaming me for siding with the wronged party. If my boyfriend stole from my sister, I'd make sure to tell her and feel very ashamed and disappointed in him. But mom has always been overprotective of my sister, no matter what she does, which is wrong. Now for the advice. Tell your boyfriend. He needs to at least know about it. What he chooses to do is up to him, but don't enable your sister's behavior. Pretty soon she will be stealing from her family. What in the actual hell is wrong with your parents? And your sister? You absolutely should tell your boyfriend and let him make the choice in pressing charges. How old is your sister? Old enough to know better than to steal, I'm guessing? This is a serious thing. She didn't just take a few bucks from his wallet. $200 is a lot of money. And stealing his medication is a federal offense, I'm pretty sure. She gave you 0 reasons? She just suddenly decided to steal all of this from him? That's why my parents are concerned, especially my mom. I was able to retrieve the items, but the cash was not returned. The money wasn't there, and my sister didn't say where she took it. I feel so ashamed of what my sister did and how parents were defending her, and bad-mouthing my boyfriend who considers them and sees them as his family. This might even affect my relationship with him. I honestly cannot blame him for any action he decides to take, because I know how much he works hard to get his medication and save money for car repair. Last story is titled, My female 20s, soon-to-be sister-in-law, female 30s, is planning to blindside us with a pregnancy announcement at our rehearsal dinner this weekend. Am I the crazy one? I just need advice from people who don't know me, as I cannot discuss with family or friends that know the individual. My soon-to-be mother-in-law called me this morning to inform that my soon-to-be sister-in-law called her and told her she is 5 to 6 weeks pregnant, so she thinks, and that she is planning to announce it at our rehearsal dinner. She told mother-in-law not to tell anybody else, that they want to blindside us and surprise everyone altogether. Thankfully, my mother-in-law likes me enough to warn me ahead of time with this information, but now I am not sure what to do with it. Now, for some background, we are having an under 40 guests wedding. Everyone is included for the rehearsal dinner, including our friends and my own family. Since we are having such a small wedding, I have my 3 soon-to-be sister-in-laws as my bridesmaids. The pregnant sister-in-law has been a thorn in my side. She hated the dress color I wanted. She hated the shoe size adjusted. She's mad because I'm taking away from a weekend off. I have tried to be gracious in all of this and pick and choose my battles. She also screamed at me one day that I was taking too much attention for the wedding away from her weekend of seeing family she doesn't see often, but doesn't make a point to go see them. She also was mad when we had our daughter 3 years ago, because we had a first grandbaby/great-grandbaby. So there is a long list of things I've done to apparently victimize her specifically, and at this point, I'm just worn down. I feel as though I should either say something to my mother-in-law to say something to her, or do I go to her directly? I think she sees her peeing on a stick as an opportunity to upstage our entire wedding and bring the attention back to her. This is her first pregnancy, and previously, when discussing babies with them, I was informed she didn't want to start trying until fall 2021. So I imagine this is somewhat of an, oops, guess we're doing this sooner. When we had our daughter, we waited until I was 15 weeks to announce anything. So I'm not sure why she feels the need to do so at 5 to 6 weeks. We're also all staying after the wedding to go to a resort for 4 days with the entire family, that she could use as an opportunity to tell them. What would you do in this situation? Do I say something directly to her? Do I just let her make her announcement? To be honest, let your fiancé handle things. He can call his sister and tell her that if there's any pregnancy announcements at the dinner, she will be escorted out and not be part of the wedding at all. She also screamed at me one day that I was taking too much attention for the wedding away from her weekend of seeing family she doesn't see often, but doesn't make a point to go see them. She also was mad when we had our daughter 3 years ago because we had first grandbaby/great-grandbaby. So there is a long list of things I've done to apparently victimize her specifically, and at this point I'm just worn down. I'd strongly reconsider having this woman as a bridesmaid. OP to husband, to mother-in-law, to sister-in-law. Personally, I handle my family and let my wife handle her family. It just makes sense. I would also nudge mother-in-law to tell her it would be unwise to spread the news this early. As someone who has had a number of miscarriages, it is really hard to be getting congratulations while dealing with a loss. When you spread it that early, it generally gets a life of its own and is spreading further than you expect. Have mother-in-law scare her a bit.
She seems like a self-centered diva to me from what you have said. It may need some stronger boundaries. Congratulate her on Facebook. Nuclear option. I was coming here to say exactly this. I just heard the news. Congratulations, sister-in-law. We're so excited for the new edition. Maybe add in that if being in the wedding party is too stressful, that they would understand completely and assure they would be happy if she attends. If she gets mad that you announced it, feign ignorance and tell her you understand that her hormones are probably the cause of her emotional upheaval.
First story is titled, Am I the a-hole for kicking my mom out? My 42 male mother moved in with us temporarily as her place in a retirement community is being finished. She has been a nightmare since she's moved in. She is constantly up my wife's butt, complaining, nitpicking. She's always got something to say about how she'd never do something my wife does, but then hypocritically says, it's fine if I do the same thing. My wife, who has the patience of a saint, doesn't complain. But I've been told by both our children, 16 male and 13 female, about things she's said and done. I've told her more than once that she's a guest in our house and to knock off her crap. I feel terrible I didn't realize that she was just getting sneakier about it. It came to a head on Wednesday. I was doing a project when my son came in and asked to talk. He said I needed to do something about my mother because he's seen my wife cry more than once because of her. My daughter said she has too, though my wife tries to hide it. After gently pressing my wife about it, she admitted it was true and told me how much she was starting to hate being home now because it was so nonstop with my mom, and she didn't say anything because she wouldn't ever want to put me in a bad spot or make me feel like I had to choose. I was furious. My wife should never feel uncomfortable in her own home. I confronted my mom, who immediately turned on the tears. It was taken out of context. My wife just doesn't like her. She's telling me lies. I told her to pack her stuff. I'd allowed her to hurt my wife for far too long. I dropped her off at my aunt's house yesterday. My aunt says I made the right decision, and my wife and kids needed to be comfortable in their own home. My mom and brother are furious, however, and say I'm an a-hole for making her homeless. I told my brother he could take her in then, but that's not an option somehow. I don't think I was the a-hole at all, but my wife feels like we caused problems in my family. So, am I the a-hole? Added to add, I wanted to thank everyone for their kind words. A few people mentioned my wife not communicating what was going on. Well, she came from a very abusive home, and that is a contributing factor. Her mom always used to say not to make her choose, which I think might be why she said what she did. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. You are a good husband. I've seen far too many posts where the wife is in misery because the mother-in-law is horrible to her, and the husband either does nothing or sides with his mother. Don't let your mom and brother get to you. You did the right thing. Even your aunt thinks so. Good on you for being there for your wife. This, not the a-hole. Very funny that your brother's judging you but won't take her in either. That's some ridiculous behavior. Your mom is welcome to rent an Airbnb if she doesn't want to be homeless. Absolutely not the a-hole. It's so refreshing and satisfying to read something like this. Finally, someone who has their priorities straight. As someone who is dating a mama's boy, I can only hope one day he will shift his loyalty, for lack of a better word, to me. Take your wife out on a date and tell your kids you love them and prioritize them. Good for you. Yes, this family is awesome. Not only did Opie support his wife, so did the kids. That is a sign of a close family to me. Not the a-hole. Your brother is the a-hole though. Your mother, definitely. You did cause problems with the family, but frankly, your wife was being too passive and you took control of the situation. The mother-in-law caused the problems with the family. Opie fixed the problems. It's a hell of a wedge to drive in between a child and their parent, no matter what age. The nurturing caregiver that raised you will always be given the benefit of the doubt at first. It takes a shiny spine to tell your spouse that they need to kick the mother out. It's understandable that it went on for too long, but he stepped the hell up and didn't let his mother play her games. Now for the second story. Am I the a-hole for choosing not to sew baby quilts or dresses or anything other than housewares for my family? I started sewing when I was around 18. When I got to college, there was this girl, Allison, in my dorm who brought her sewing machine, and I could hear her doing stuff through the wall. I got up the nerve to say hi to her, and I spent so many hours on her bed watching her sew while we watched TV and talked. She taught me some basics, and I eventually saved up to get my own machine. My family didn't really support this. They've always been kind of, who has the time for that people. Anything that isn't sports or work is bad, because people should always be in the pursuit of more money, more cars, dating up, getting rock hard abs, etc. The first year, I made everyone simple but useful presents, aprons, pot holders, zipper pouches, etc. My dad is the only one who appreciated it. An apron meant for grilling. He still uses it. One sister said, "Oh, so you don't have a job?" When I moved in with Allison to some off-campus apartments, my family started going in on lecturing me about not bettering myself constantly. Mind you, I was in school to be a teacher. 7 years passed, Allie gets married, and I sew her wedding dress. She's more of a sister than my actual sisters. This is the first time my family takes interest, because now I can be of use to them. Jen sees the dress and starts telling me what she wants for hers. Annie tells me what she wants for Flower Girls. I told them no. They didn't take it well. Now, there's talk of grandchildren, and everyone has started looking at me to step up and make family heirloom quilts for the babies, as well as all kinds of other things. They tell me, what's the point of sewing if you're not going to sew for your family? I told everyone, why would I sew anything for any of you when you laughed at me and told me I was wasting my time? It didn't go over well, and my sisters have labeled me a bitter, hateful witch who won't let go of the past. And that I am jealous that they are successful in their careers while I'm scraping glue off desks. I teach high school, so no. A few friends have told me that my outburst was childish and that I shouldn't punish the grandchildren for my family being crappy to me. In my mind, I'm not punishing anyone. Punishing them would be taking away something rather than just not going out of my way to spend a lot of time sewing for people who are ungrateful. Plus, and I hate to say this, just because they're related to me doesn't make them family. I compromised and said I would make everyone some pot holders for Christmas. They told me to not bother coming if I'm not going to be a member of the family. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Also, wow for sewing an entire wedding dress. That's not easy and sounds like you're very, very skilled. And no, they want to use you without actually appreciating you. I'm pretty sure they won't even pay you or even provide materials. You're not punishing anyone because you're not taking away anything. No is no. They're not entitled or deserving to your free labor and time. They're not entitled or deserving to your free labor and time. Yeah, and I can't even understand why you compromised. They can go duck themselves. And OP, grow some backbone. Not the a-hole. They were mean and petty, and now they want presents? Made using the skill they were mean about? They are less clever than they think they are. The skill they are being mean about. They clearly don't understand the level of effort and talent that goes into making something like a quilt. They've just decided it should be no biggie for OP since it's not like she has a real job. Screw that. Not the a-hole. Honestly, I think your family members sound really insecure. They're also focused on status and achievement, and then they see you having a hobby you really enjoy, a good friend who is dear to you, and a career that fulfills you even though it's low status, which I don't agree with at all, but just sticking with the perception. And honestly, they just don't know what to think. You are happy and fulfilled by perfectly ordinary things, while they have loads and it's still not enough. So, they try to make you feel bad in order to feel better about themselves. It's sad, really. You're right. By the way, family isn't just the one you're born into, it's the one you choose. If your blood family can't accept you for who you are and be happy that you are content with your life, then screw them. That's not what family does. Well, sooner or later, some obligations around legal kin are hard to avoid. When it comes to optional things like family Christmas, don't force yourself to participate if you're not going to get anything out of it. Instead, surround yourself with people like Allison who accept you and love you for who you are. People like her are your real family. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for not letting X off the hook on child support so he can afford his new life? My ex-husband had a 4-year-long affair. I only came to learn about this affair because he got the other woman pregnant. We are now divorced. They are married and they have a 2-year-old together. Ex and I share an 11 and 12-year-old. As of last year, I have primary custody because he and his wife and their child moved 4 hours away, which the courts considered too far to maintain 50-50 timeshare. The business X worked for collapsed due to COVID back in April, and X was out of work for several weeks. In that time, he asked me to take him off the hook for child support, which meant no back pay for the weeks. And because I said no, he brought me back to court. All the court did was readjust the amount he owed because of their lost income. X's wife has since got a job, and he say that they are still struggling because neither make good money. He asked me again to let him off the hook. He said their daughter is suffering because between keeping the roof over their head and paying child support, there isn't much left to provide for her. I told him that is not my problem. My concern will always be our children. He claims if I can afford to provide for them without him for a period of time, it is the right thing to do because his other daughter is their half-sister, and as such, it is my role to make sure she is cared for too, or at least it should be if I am a good mother and a caring person. I told him the discussion was over and I want the child support for my children. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Child support is for the benefit of your children. If he wants an amendment to the child support agreement, he needs to talk with the courts further. You are right, not your business. He and his wife need to hustle more. He knows the court won't lower it more than they already have. The fact she is now working could increase it. So, he knows it's not safe to do so, which is why he's coming to me about it. But I look out for my children first. Take him to court for an increase. The court adjustment payments based upon their real income, which I guarantee he is lying to you about. Perhaps, if he learns his whining only gets him dragged into court and forced to pay more support, he will man up and quit crying to you about the consequences of his actions. But I look out for my children first, because you are a responsible parent. That would cost me money, so I will leave the child support as it is. If he wants to go fight for a further increase, he is entitled to, and I will enjoy saving the extra child support if that happens. I like to think I am. I have always put my kids first and their feelings and needs, even when it was painful to do so. But like I told a friend who asked being responsible and putting them first doesn't mean I'm going to let him walk all over me either. Not the a-hole. If he didn't want to pay child support, he shouldn't have had an affair. It's not your responsibility to make sure his daughter is cared for. If he can't afford to provide for his daughter and pay child support, he should get another job. Agreed, but he did. And he had no choice but to let it come out, so now he is reaping what he sowed. Don't feel guilty. The courts take his family size into consideration when calculating child support. He can pay to go back and ask for another adjustment if he needs it. One thing I've learned from my ex-husband is to never agree to anything outside of the court order. It only ends in problems. Not the a-hole. His new life, or lack thereof, is not your problem. He had the affair, he had more children, and as a parent, it's his job to provide for all his children. If he is struggling, he needs to figure it out, but it's not your job to make sure his other child has what she needs too. The fact that he brought that up was ridiculous. Exactly, OP. You are providing for your kids. If you remarried and had a third kid, would he have to pay child support on that kid? His logic is all backwards if he thinks you are only a good mother if you are helping him raise the kid he had with another woman. You are a good mother to your kids. And that's the end of this video, folks. As always, leave a comment and hit like and subscribe. And if you want more of this content, turn your notification on to get updated on the latest videos. And I'll catch you in the next one. Stay safe.